Well, hey everybody, it's the Codgers.
It's Codger time.
Codger time. This video is long overdue. I think way back when we did our PCT wrap-up, we promised that we would answer any questions that people had, and we never did it.
We didn't get to it because we're grumpy old men. Sorry.
He earned that shirt.
I earned that shirt.
Yeah, I wasn't grumpy enough to get one of those.
I spent too much time at the favorite brewery up in Blue Ridge, so sorry. Now we're ready to get back to work.
Yeah. So anyways, we thought we'd take an opportunity to go ahead and do some of the Q&A. Hopefully it still means something to everybody. And we'll probably break this into a few segments just because there were a lot of questions. And again, just thank you for everybody that's followed us. And again, thank you for everybody that put in some questions, and just thank you again for your support. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah. So we went through the list and compiled that stuff, and our associate producer made a spreadsheet. And so we've got some of these things we're going to go through. We figured we're going to start out with some of the personal stuff. And this question, one of the first questions, I was disappointed because people keep saying, "How old are you?" But we were always talking about how old we were. I mean, seriously, I think we were. Can you remember? I think we did. Yeah.
I know we did along the way, but there were probably some new folks that were watching that perhaps didn't get through all the videos.
So I'm 67 years young,
and I am 63. And let's see, when we started out, I guess we started the PCT. We were 66 and 62.
Yep.
And then. Had our birthdays on the trail at the end of the year.
At the end of the year.
Yeah. So.
And I'm on Medicare. He's a couple years away yet from getting there.
I'm learning from him. He's figuring it all out as we go. But
and people were asking like, how old were we? And then like, what was it saying? Like, what were our careers before we retired? I had 3 careers. My last one was like energy management, energy efficient lighting projects. And then I had other stuff, aerospace and printing before that. But yeah, I'm retired.
You're retired.
Yeah.
I'm retired too. I actually retired from HP and then took a job at our local church. And then spent about 10 years working for them, and then did a complete retirement right before we did the AT back in 21.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're officially retired Codgers, which, obviously allows us to be able to do some of the hiking. So that worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got there?
What do we got there? We got
filter.
Oh, this. You're gonna love this one.
All right, what is it?
Did we ever get frustrated with each other?
What the hell? Oh, you can bleep that out.
Yeah. Oh, you can bleep that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing major, but we did it a few times. We sometimes would be in the grumpy mode, both of us or one of us, and we always tell the story of. I don't know if I think we were on the AT at the time, and I was trying to be Mr. Positive of. And it was a long slog. It was pretty tough. And I'm like, oh, we're almost there. Come on.
He'd been going all day with this. We're almost there.
And Joe had finally had enough of that.
I finally just said, shut the front door. And he's like,
but yeah, we have. But nothing, I think we've always kind of put it in perspective that you kind of expect a little of that.
Anybody you spend that much time with, no matter how close of friends you are, you're going to have times where you get annoyed with each other, but that's kind of what families do. And,
right.
But it was. I couldn't have done it without him either.
Yeah, vice versa.
Having each other's support is far outweighs any of those little times you get annoyed, and we balance each other out. So if somebody's getting a little bit annoyed, the other person can kind of help maybe them with the annoying part of that, and share the pain. But
and
annoyed with each other, not too much.
Yeah, and probably the biggest positive was the fact that we did hike together, and when somebody was down or wasn't motivated to do what needed to get done that day, the other person could help motivate them.
Yeah.
And not sometimes not a direct way, but just, hey, we got to go. Let's go. Yeah. And somebody being there that could also help say, hey, I am beat. Well, let me go get the water for you.
Yeah.
I can't count the number of times you did that for me, where I'm just totally exhausted at the end of the day, and Joe's like, I'll go do the half-mile thing to the water. And
the other person does, and even
kind of take turns around that.
Riverdance did it that time for us, and watching. Yeah. And it's just that it's like you get a little joy out of that. Oh, thank you. And
yeah.
But it's also when you hike, you still hike your own hike, so you aren't stuck together the whole time, because we still find that we're going to meet at such and such a space, and David could take off at because he generally hikes faster than me with the long legs, and but you still have your own time if you need it.
Right. But anyways, it worked out very well. Again, our hiking styles and personalities are similar. So for the most part, it worked out well. So very fortunate.
Yeah. And then people wonder how we met. Well, it wasn't through Hikers Anonymous, but we lived in the same neighborhood, and our kids went to the same school. But our wives were big tennis buddies, and they spent a lot of time together. And so we knew each other, but we didn't know each other very well. And then later on, when I had moved up to North Georgia, and we got together, I can't remember. I think we were getting together to have a beer and lunch with the ladies or something.
Got on the topic of hiking.
And my wife was encouraging it, and then we started talking hiking, and David's eyes are like, "Ooh!" and he took me on a test date.
Yeah, test date. Yeah, he almost failed, but
I almost failed.
But one of the things that, and we just met somebody here a couple days ago that is into hiking, and one of the things he talked about was the fact that it's really hard to find somebody in your neighborhood and community that's into hiking at the level that you're into. And because it varies, some people just say, hey, I just want to do a short little hike, a little day hike. Other people are, want to do some marathon stuff. And so trying to find a group of people or a person that is willing to hike and again, similar paces, willing to do whatever, it's pretty tough to do. So we've been very fortunate in the fact that we've been hiking together about 10 years.
9-10 years.
That. Yeah. So.
And the guy you just referred to, a shout out to you, Terry. Thanks for the beers the other day.
Yeah, Terry, thank you. We really do appreciate that. But yeah, that really, the conversation we do just really brought that to mind, is the fact that it is tough sometimes to find some hiking people. And particularly if you're not retired, it's really tough to try to sync schedules up. So anyways, what's next on there, Joey?
I think the next on there was, we were going to talk about then our conditioning. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
All right, so talk about conditioning. How many miles before we felt like we had our trail legs? That's a tough one.
It is, because it was such a tough year last year with the snow. If you remember all of the beginning, I think day 3, we were into the snow. So that brought a whole different level of conditioning.
Yeah, frustration. You're not really going in stride to build up your cardio the way you'd want to. You're dealing with some really difficult, where you'd run out of gas, have to stop, keep going through the snow, run out of gas again, have to stop. It was hard. But I think I'd given that a lot of thought. I think I felt pretty good after about a month, but we were still battling all those terrain, snow issues and everything else. So I couldn't really sense whether or not I had my legs like we did when we were on the AT, where you're trying to do these miles and do all these ascents and everything. And then we took that break. And that was about 5-6 weeks, and we got back on the trail, and then we were battling the snow again in the Sierra. So it was just kind of hard to gauge when you really hit stride, but we were feeling really good by the time we got to Oregon. Yeah. And then I was feeling great when we got to Washington. I mean, that trail there got more like the AT with the ups and downs, but by the end of that, I was just feeling like, I felt like we were at our best shape of the entire trip. At the end of it, we didn't wear down. We built up through the whole way. It was a slow process, but we did.
Yeah, and normally, like I think for the AT, and we were probably pretty close here, about the 3 to 4 week period, you're starting to feel a little bit better, meaning you're not as sore when you get up in the mornings. And this is probably something a little unique to older hikers. The younger folks can just bounce back pretty quickly. But I think one of the questions we had was, did we take a lot of vitamin I, ibuprofen or Advil? And I'd say, yeah, in the beginning, I probably was taking it about every night for the first at least couple of weeks, and then I would start kind of backing off of it, and that was really kind of a sign that my body was starting to get used to it. But you could really tell a big difference when you got up in the morning. That was usually, you could tell how worn out you were, or if you were in shape yet.
Yep.
So.
And I was always kind of thinking ahead. If I knew it was going to be a certain kind of day, I'd take it in the morning, and if I knew at the end of the day what my body had been through, I'd take it that night, and kind of gauged it that way. But it worked out pretty well. So then one of the questions was that after we got our legs, did the uphill slogs get better? And I'd say absolutely, but it was as much our minds as it was the legs, because it's just getting your head wrapped around, you're going to have this slog, and you just manage your pace. And then once you get through it, you're on the backside, you're kind of rejuvenating yourself. So it got better.
Yeah, it did. And I think the uphill slogs, and this kind of feeds into that thing of the AT versus the PCT. PCT had some very long uphills, but the grade was good. 10%-ish, somewhere in that range for the most part. It took you forever to get up and down, but nowhere near what like the AT was. We talked about before, the AT is this constant, seems like up and down type stuff and pretty steep climbs. But on the PCT, it wasn't as bad, except for, again, the snow threw us all out of whack.
Yeah, because then you were just going up through the snowfields to get to the top. And like
Yeah.
PCT is what's considered mule grade, I guess.
Right.
And I think when it's in that part of the mule grade, it's around the 6.5-ish. So it's manageable. When you get up into Washington, it's much more like AT with the amount of ups and downs that you got to deal
Yeah.
with.
And so one of the things about how did our bodies hold up, one of the things, and this might be, again, as an older hiker, that it starts to wear on you. I mean, you do get in shape, your legs are in shape, but you're also, I know for me, and I think for Joe as well, we lost a lot of weight. I think ended up losing about 45 pounds. And this kind of feeds in the nutrition aspect.
Yeah.
That was my biggest challenge on the trail, was just the food and not being able to eat enough to keep, to match the calories that I was burning. And eventually your body just starts to wear down to the point where, after 5 months, we were getting close to the end of the trail. I didn't have anywhere near the energy level I did in the beginning. Trying to eat as much as I could, but I couldn't. I could tell my body was starting to get down to that minimal, weight aspect.
And I lost about 35 pounds, and I got most of it back.
I've done a pretty good job of that too, there.
It was just, I think we got better at the nutrition thing as time went on. It's just that's one of the toughest things when you're on the AT. It's just being able to eat, because if you're going to eat it, you got to carry it.
Exactly. You can't. I think I've said it before. You had a little Fitbit. It was telling me I was burning between 5,500 to 7,000 with gust up to 8,000 calories a day. You can't eat that much. You can't carry that much. Yeah. And all you can do is do your best when you get into town to eat as much as you can, but your stomach starts to shrink, so you can't eat as much. And so that was, for me, that was probably the biggest challenge. It has been for both through hikes that I've done. So. All right, what else we got here, Joe?
Post-trail depression was one of them in there. And
yes.
it was, I tell you, you do kind of go through it. I start jonesing to get back out on the trail. And it's just kind of normal. I mean, the first 2 weeks you couldn't get me off the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a joy and loving taking a shower and petting the dog, hanging with my wife, and her and I got all chances to catch up and everything else. But then you start kind of missing what you had out on the trail. And one of the easiest solutions for that is you throw your pack on and you go out and camp for a night or two. And we're fortunate enough we're really close to the AT. And so I've done that several times already. Just said, hey, honey, I'm going to go in the woods for a night or two. And she's like, go for it. And you then reconnect with some of the same people that you're used to seeing when you're out on the trail and sharing that. It helps, kind of give you an infusion, if you will.
Yeah. And I share that, like I said, the first few weeks is just trying to recover and, just kind of relaxing, getting the body somewhat back to normal. But it's tough. I just read an article. If you remember Zookeeper, he was writing. David, I don't remember what his last name was, but writing articles for Backpacker, and he just wrote one, or I just read it, talking about after the trail. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he mentioned in there is so true. Is that you're so used to when you're on the trail, you've got a goal. I mean, every day you're getting up, you're hiking is a routine, and you're accomplishing something every single day, moving to that end goal. Well, when you get off the trail, you don't necessarily have something lined up like that as far as, I'm going to do X, I'm going to achieve this today, and tomorrow I'll do this, and by the end of the period I'm going to be at this goal or whatever. You don't normally have that, and that can be very tough for people and I know for myself, again, being retired might make it even a little worse, because you don't have that routine of getting up and going to work, and so it's very easy to just kind of say, wow, this doesn't feel right. I feel like I need to be back out where I've got that particularly for a goal-oriented person, which I happen to be. That's where, what have I done today? What am I going to do? What's my end goal? So that was David was right on, or Zookeeper was right on with that article.
So he's in the middle of a whole bunch of honeydew projects and filled up his goal list. This one guy, Triple Crowner, we met on the trail here just a few months ago, Free Speed from California. He had retired and he was just finishing his Triple Crown. And that guy, he was ready for what was next, which was he was going to go start doing maybe some ultra marathons and stuff like that, or Ironman. That's something he had done prior anyhow, so he was already fired up. I had a list, but it took me a while to get back on the list.
Yeah. But it's also, I mean, you got all these things to do, but it's, you know, again, if you've ever through hiked, you can relate to this, or if you're getting ready to. There's nothing like being submersed in it. You know, the crowd, the environment, obviously the beauty of all of this, and then the people, the fellow hikers that you're with, and the trail angels, and boy, it just really builds up your humanity, and you really, all the other noise in life just kind of fades away. We joke about having our heads stuck in the sand, and then when you come back to reality, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, all the news stuff, everything, you know, it's like, oh. When you're on the trail, you can leave a lot of that behind, and anyways.
Yeah, you get in a very good mental space when you're out there.
Yeah.
Life simplifies itself.
It does. You find out what you need and what you don't need in life, and the reality is you don't need a lot.
You don't.
So. All right, what else we got on here? I think that's...
why don't we take a pause?
Yeah.
And then we'll get with our editor, and we'll get with our editor. And you'll know if we're continuing with this video.
Yeah, or we might
one.
break it up. We know these are going to get long, but we also want to make sure that we're answering everybody's questions. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yep. Happy trails.